So that I'm delighted to be back here in Poland and to be able to moderate such an important panel. And of course also, as introduced before, with so many very important also experts. What we're going to focus on in this panel here, I'm not going to spend too much on the introduction side, is first of all to the question how to attract more workforce in the Central and Eastern European region. And of course also we're going to ask a question in a way, how intensively should the government and large public institutions support the private companies to find new markets and also just their export side. And also besides that, we know that there is a huge issue when it comes to skills gaps. So also we're going to focus how to overcome these issues and how to attract more people to join the cyber field here. But I would like to start with the opening question to Andrzej, who is just next to me here. So the first question to open up this conversation here is that cybersecurity should not be viewed as an ICT challenge only, but more like a business risk. What do you think? Which methods aim to be the most successful ones for a country to boost and help their cyber companies to find new export markets and, of course, also attract enough workforce?
Well, thank you for the question, and good afternoon to everyone. I admit this is my first conference since the pandemic, and it feels a little odd knowing that there is hundreds of people online and several people on site. So thank you for everyone to join in. Also feels a little odd with my co-panelists whom I see behind me on the big screen, but I will wave to you like this. Okay, hello. Okay, so actually, in my opinion, this is not really a question whether this is the cyber threats or building cyber resilience whether this is a business risk or is it an ICT challenge, because in fact it's both. And you have to look at it from both ends. So yes, of course it is a risk which is still quite hard to assess. And I know this from my experience speaking with our prospective clients or our clients, but also being responsible for internal cybersecurity within our company. That's one of my duties as a management board member. So if we, on one hand, if we start talking about the risks, business risks, which can be resolved from some incidents in the cybersecurity space, well, you could come to a conclusion, let's shut everything down because there is no way I can protect myself entirely. Of course, this would be too extreme, but it's good to have this understanding. But so I much more prefer to look at it. Okay, let's know the risks. Let's assess the probability, so the normal risk analysis, which has to be done, even though the data is never sufficient to do a 100% proof or 100% accurate prognosis what can happen. However, having a good team, you can actually put some sense into the incidents which are more likely to affect you, and then what are the risks, and then come to the second part, the ICT challenge. Yes, so the challenge is, so what should I do to protect myself? And this is a huge question. I mean, this is a huge question, and I'm having those discussions with our clients, especially those who are just after being hit, and they say, okay, so now I don't care about money, just get something done so I'm protected 100%. And well, probably most of us know who are present in this panel, there is no such a thing as 100% protection. It just, well, unfortunately or fortunately, but it just doesn't exist. Also, it's not a question, okay, I will put a lot of money in and next week I'm protected a lot more than I was protected today. So the challenge is actually how to consider different scenarios and map them against the most probable threats. And then say, okay, maybe the first step is very simple. I just installed some EDR or maybe some absolutely basic like antivirus or some very simple things. But it needs to be okay to take some quick action. So really to see where I'm vulnerable the most and then fix it as quickly as possible. But at the same time, the challenge is to work up a longer strategy, a plan. Okay, so in this month, this quarter, I will take care of this. And I will start working on something else. And also be flexible that situation evolves, technologies evolve, and of course our adversaries, their methods and their tactics also evolve. So it is a challenge. And again, those discussions with our clients, sometimes they say, okay, I would like to spend some money, have a project that I built my cybersecurity, and then I'm done. Yes, it's done, and I'm okay, and I don't want to hear about it anymore. Yes, and well, unfortunately, or good for the cybersecurity firms, this is not the case. Yes, this is a journey that never ends, and the trick is, or the real challenge is, how to structure this journey. So which solutions you implement, and it's not just technologies. Technologies are important, but of course, organizational. People, trainings, all the exercises, the whole drill. There is so many elements that need to be put together. So it does take time. So it's a fantastic challenge actually. Once somebody realizes what are the threats, so coming back to the business risks, that it needs to be done. And some people say, well, 3 years ago or 2 years ago, nothing happened to me. So how come I need to spend $1 million now to do something? And we say, well, you don't need to spend $1 million. Maybe you need to spend $5 million. Maybe you don't need to spend anything at all. It's just a question how you assess the risks, and we can help you to tell you what measures need to be taken to address those risks, and then you decide, yes, whether you are ready for it or you prefer to live with that risk. So that's always the decision of the end user. So actually, this is both the risk and the challenge, and it's quite fascinating.
Thank you. I would turn the same question to my lovely colleague from Estonia, Mr. Raul, Rikk. I know that Estonia, by coming from Estonia, has been also very successful by supporting the cyber companies. So maybe you can bring it out a couple of examples how Estonia tackles that side and what has really worked so far.
Yes, thank you very much for the question, and I hope you can hear me.
Yes.
Myself, I hear a little bit echo, but I try to answer. In order to support the cyber companies, there are, of course, many different ways how to do that. We have consulted also different countries around the world that how they have approached to this challenge. And one of the best practices, of course, if the government organizes projects and conducts procurements and supports the ICT development and cybersecurity inside this project through the very, very concrete and useful procurements. And of course, there are other measures that will. For example, we in Estonia have a small group of people who support the cybersecurity startup ecosystem. So they bring different companies together. They try to connect them. They try to connect them to the investors, and they try to find resources to support their initiatives. I will stop here because the echo is really, really strong. Thank you.
Thank you. Maybe also the same question, very quickly, a short answer from Paweł. What has been the case studies from Poland, how you have been supporting your companies to find new markets and, of course, also attract more workforce?
Oh, it's a very complex question, obviously, because we do support all innovative initiatives in terms of digital market. This has been our approach for quite some time. We're consistent in that. But when it comes to cybersecurity especially, we believe that it is obviously a responsibility for each and every country, each and every government to ensure that this cybersecurity is constantly being enhanced and improved. But we at the same time note that it won't be possible to succeed, even though, as it was rightly mentioned, there is no end point in that. It's an ongoing journey, but it's not going to be a successful journey if we will not be enhancing our cooperation between countries within the Three Seas initiative and more largely speaking within the European Union. And this is why Poland very often underlines how important it is not only to support particular projects, to support companies that can develop particular solutions, but also to coordinate our efforts within the like-minded countries facing similar risks, similar threats. And we learned the bad way that these risks are only increasing, especially in Central Europe. So we need to step up in terms of cooperation. One very positive step is the fact that European Cybersecurity Competence Center has been posted. Well, there was a decision of the EU to locate it in Romania, so one of the Three Seas countries, which we deeply support, and we want to cooperate very closely with this agency. But at the same time, we still see the big need for cooperation on the government level, between the governments that are most interested in that. And a permanent cooperation mechanism of countries that are willing to do it, not requiring that everybody's on board from the very beginning. This is definitely something that we will be going to propose. Because without such cooperation, without such coordination, no matter what particular governments may do, this may still prove ineffective, inadequate against the threats that we are facing today. Obviously, when it comes to actual elements of this mechanism of coordination, funds play a really important role. And the Three Seas initiative is an answer to that as well. The Three Seas initiative has three pillars: transport, energy, and digital sector. And while cybersecurity is obviously mostly related to digital sector, it actually covers much larger area, because in fact, every sector of the economy might be affected now by cyber attacks. So the Three Seas initiative was created to boost public and private investment, to boost private and public funding for particular initiatives in these sectors, to use synergies with existing means such as national budgets, such as EU funds, and also encourage private investment through the Three Seas Initiative Fund. And I believe that if we work together on that, and if we will have especially a couple of countries that are most interested in that, and we create a group of like-minded partners, the rest will soon follow, and we will be much more resilient. And actually, Central Europe can yet again be leader in this very important area, in the area of cybersecurity.
Thank you. Now moving to the second topic, and the issue that I also raised before was this skills gap as well, which is the main concern for both, first of all, the economic development and, of course, also national security, especially when we think about the rapid digitalization of the global economic system. So the question is how to overcome this. Should we invest more in promoting the cyber education, or be also a little bit more open when it comes to accepting workforce from different other countries, such as third countries too? Maybe that question I would send it all the way to our colleagues in Latvia. Elina.
Thank you. Thank you. It's really a challenging question because we have heard a lot of ideas from partners during 3 days how to manage the lack of labor force. But taking into account that we are talking about three Cs, then I would say that basically fish are going where the food is. So even relying previously what has been said about the challenges of cybersecurity, I think that for business it's more not like challenge, but it's an opportunity. And where demand is, where competition is, that's a place where the best innovation and the best business ideas are born. So I believe that it's a complex of answers which should be given to better use the human resources what we have right now. And also, for instance, if we view the movement which is ongoing in Latvia as well. For instance, in our land guards, we see that there are a lot of people who are united with idea to support the country, to engage in cybersecurity trainings and activities. So there are a lot of initiatives which could be taken into account and we can learn from.
Now let's maybe jump to Croatia. We have Zoran as well, like joining us. Can you bring out a couple of examples by your own experience? What would work the best to really get over of this skills gap, and what Croatia is doing in order to? Are you promoting this education a little more, or what are the best methods for that?
Okay. Hello, everyone. Well, I think we should be doing both, actually. So going in both of the directions that you said. However, there is no surplus of the resources, and I agree with what Elina said. Actually, that related to that the fish are going there where the food is. So we should do both, actually. We should do education, but in my view, it is not something that would bring the results very quickly, that this will, let's say, come in a years, but we definitely have to do it. And I think the good example, which I would take, is Israel, which offers cybersecurity training at all levels of its educational system. Starting in middle school and continuing through graduate school, where students can earn PhDs in cybersecurity. And that education has to be the one that provides a lot of practice, so that when people get out from the school, that they're enabled for the fast start in the private companies. As it relates to the let's say, attracting the people from other countries, there is one thing that Croatia did recently. It's not related specifically to the cybersecurity, but Croatia has opened to digital nomads in a way that it gives them visas actually to live in Croatia and work from Croatia. And we hope that this will also help in the area of cybersecurity, and that while these people are working here, that they will also that we will actually find ways how to integrate them and to collaborate with them on the cybersecurity projects. But besides doing this, I think what we also have to ask ourselves are two things. One thing is if we can do things in a smarter way. So can we do with the existing number of the resources far more by utilizing some of the technologies like artificial intelligence, machine learning, or let's say automating certain things in security operations. And as Croatia is a small country, we've actually in our company we've been forced, also like our customers, to go in that direction, because the human capacity is fairly low compared to maybe some larger countries. So one thing which I said, we should ask ourselves if we can do things in a smarter way and then utilize the resources which we have. And the second thing is if we can reduce the requirement for so many people in the cybersecurity by looking at, by tackling the problem in its roots. And there are many things that can be done, like ensuring that we have a more secure code with less vulnerabilities, maybe through some legislation, and having software vendors to have a liability for delivering unsecure code. We can stop using unpatched devices, which are usually source of the vulnerabilities. And we can also do by creating more awareness and educating the whole population, which will then reduce the human errors and people as actual vulnerability, which contributes to the overall cybersecurity problem.
Thank you, and I fully agree with you here, and I think this kind of educational initiatives are extremely important. There's a couple of examples that I could also just bring it out here, what Estonia is currently doing with organizing a cyber battle for the students, which again attracts more students to get interested in that topic. There's going to be a very huge competition happening in less than a month, so where all these young students interested in the cyber field can really work together and see what will happen when the real cyber attacks also take place here. Anything you want to add on that issue when we especially talked about like the promoting educational side from your perspective here?
Well, just a few thoughts because a lot has been said and everything was absolutely. I can sign my name underneath. When I think of education, when we talk about creating the skills and creating the specialists, I would think of it in like two dimensions. So on one hand, this is a general education about cyber security or behaving safely in a digital world. And this should be, in my opinion, like really basic things or things that in the future will be basic, but today they are on the level of some, let's say, intermediate or maybe even advanced users or participants of the digital world. And the reason to do it is, of course, so people are themselves are more aware and are behaving in a more secure manner. But at the same time, this creates less work for the specialists. That's what I'm thinking. That okay, so if the simpler tasks can be, in quotes, outsourced to normal people because they are educated from the early stage, then the specialists, which will always be too few of them, can focus on the really complex problems or more complex problems. So this general education, and at the same time, all the programs which I'm hearing like Estonia is doing or it was mentioned in other countries. So all these programs to really, on one hand, attract the people to the topic, so raise their awareness. And then some of them actually will think, oh, this is something for me. I want to go deeper into this and start engaging into these topics early on. Yes? So by the time they are in high school, they are really good, and by the time they enter college, they are really, really good. So the programs which on the country levels I think should be created and or developed or executed is to really search for talent. Yes, and search for talent, and then make sure that this talent develops and one day becomes an expert. So that's this general flavor of the education, and the other is that's the like more obvious things. So yeah, let's have more universities in which specialists can be taught. But also, it's important when we talk about attracting people. This is important that these topics should be exciting. Yes? So some people really look for challenges. It's not just nice salary or nice company they want to work for. They really want to tackle some challenging things. So the more of these, the more companies will be in our countries which are really working on complex, on innovative, on important projects, the more people will see, oh yeah, I want to do this. I want to be part of such a team. What do I need to do to become part of the team? So maybe I should start right now to think in being in high school to really devote more time and my attention to these topics, and then I go to the university or to technical higher education institution to learn. So this raising the bar. So I mean, making sure that we need specialists on the more complex levels, and then finding the top talent, and all the programs, of course, which has been which my predecessors have talked about.
Mm-hmm. As we have all the experts in our panel today coming from the EU countries here, maybe a little bit wider question to you. Do you think that the European Union's existing cybersecurity frameworks is compatible with, or in general, is it targeted to the European needs, laws, and regulations? Maybe let's jump back to Raul, to you. Do you think the European existing cybersecurity framework really makes sense? Can you hear us?
Yes, but before I answer to that question, I wanted to comment the educational part as well
Go
a
ahead.
little bit. So regarding the education, I think we can probably differentiate the public awareness from the specialist training. And regarding public awareness on cyber matters, I think the best policy is probably invisible cybersecurity, because the users are not interested in security at all. They want to use electronic services. They want that everything works seamlessly. And that's why, that's one of the reasons why we have implemented a long time ago the electronic ID. And we have done a lot in order to make the cybersecurity invisible for the users, so they don't need to think about that. But regarding the expert training, that's a tricky part, because we can train as much people as we like, but they are on a global market. They could go to work to different parts of the world. So there is no use for us if we train a lot of people if they don't stay here, at least some of them. And that's why I think somebody already mentioned the attraction or attracting people to our country or into the EU is a very crucial factor. So I think at the moment, what is the biggest competition around the world is a competition who has the best ICT hub in the country or in the region, so that there are the companies, there something happens, people understand that this is the place where the future is built and they want to be part of that. That's goes along with the educational part. So we need to develop our educational system, but at the same time, we have to create the environment that the educated people stay there and give the knowledge to our goals. But now going to the EU side, I answer very shortly. I think that the EU is at the moment in the position that it could regulate the area very well. And I see that the regulations, even though it might sound very bureaucratic, it actually works for the benefit of cybersecurity market development and companies development as well. Because we here in EU set the standards, what needs to be achieved, and then the companies, the government side, they need to implement these higher requirements. So they need better understanding and better solution and better services in the cybersecurity side. And in ideal world, this would promote actually the emphasis on cyber, so we can see more and better services from companies as well. And altogether, it could raise our competitive advantage in the future once the systems that are developed in the EU are better and more trustworthy than the systems in some other parts of the world. But I stop here. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you, Elina, and joining in Latvia, would you want to comment on that as well regarding the European Union existing cybersecurity framework?
Yes, I believe that in case of building more strong legal basis for cybersecurity, I would like to see more engagement of industry into this process, because only together we can basically enable that we drive for common competence, that we are training people, that we are using in-house knowledge, and also basically giving an opportunity for technologies to give better benefits for economy. So currently, what we can probably see is that larger dialogue is ongoing with large companies, and not usually also European companies, which are technology drivers. But when we talk about opportunities of cyber companies from SME sector to participate, it's not so easy for them to be there. And also the second question regarding this legal framework is probably connected also with opportunities which we create for innovations. and ecosystems which we create for innovations. And at this case, again, only through building consortiums, like it's prerequisite of the future European Defence Fund receivers. I see that that's the only way how usually quite small and medium-sized cybersecurity companies can be engaged into making this playing field for all of us convenient and supportive.
Thank you. I talked a lot about, again, the shortage in the workforce side. We see many governments also providing special benefits, and many of our experts brought it out to you that some countries also really offer something else to attract people to you to come there besides just very high salaries that we can get from the cyber sector. So when we look at the numbers here, then some of the most positive examples are Sweden, Finland, Estonia, Luxembourg, Netherlands, and Denmark, and especially some of these countries are providing this kind of special benefits. However, when we look at the numbers of, for example, Greece and Romania, the number of people who work in ICT remains only 2% comparing to like the other ones. It's a huge gap there. Do you think any kind of these kind of measures are necessary from the state side, or should the market work it out by itself when we especially think about the providing special benefits, even though that the numbers really show us that the people that are working in ICT sector are much larger in countries who really invest in also different other benefits. So maybe we can jump with that question to you, Paweł.
Thank you. I had some troubles with connection. I didn't hear it at all, but I'll try to respond to the latter part. Well, certainly we should be using the tools that we have in order to boost interest and attractiveness of the sectors. And I also want to agree with what my colleagues from Estonia and Latvia said. Indeed, this is a highly competitive market. So in order to make sure that we have adequate resources, I mean human resources, we need not only to train them, but also ensure that they are able to work in an environment that is stable, that they are not, so to say, hijacked by other institutions or companies, if we want to assure that we have the best skills at hand. And yet again, it's not what we have been discussing before. It's not a competition between states, between governments. We actually should be working together in order to make sure that the best skilled people are able to work for us to create solutions that can then be used not just by one or two governments, but by all allies in the EU and NATO within 3 Cs. In Poland, we have created a cluster, cybersecurity, cyber made in Poland, which obviously many of the participants of this forum are participating in. And we believe that we should strive to create similar mechanisms for whole 3 Cs initiative. Because if we will be able to invest and coordinate and use these synergies, then our resources, then our abilities will be simply larger. There was also a question before whether is European Union adequately equipped now to these challenges, to these threats, whether the resources at hand of the EU are sufficient. And well, the answer is obviously it's still not. It's still a lot of work to be done. But we also recognize that in the recent years, a lot has been done. We see that this issue is more and more widely recognized, that the threats, well, some of the countries learned the hard way, some are just in theory, but in fact, everybody is now much more aware than just a couple of years ago what is at stake. So if we are going in a good direction, it means that we need to continue, we need to be consistent in that. The digital agenda is very ambitious. The Europe Fit for Digital Age strategy is something that we endorse. And in order to have be successful in implementing this strategy EU-wide and also on regional levels, such as 3Cs, also on national levels. I reiterate that again, maybe this is getting boring, but we need to coordinate, we need to work together. It goes for every country, being part of the 3Cs initiative or not. We share the same situation in terms of security. In fact, no matter where we are right now, when it comes to the future as well, we will be facing more and more threats also from both from state and non-state actors. So in fact, better education, more funds allocated for that, and incentives for companies that want to create these solutions, but incentives not to have competition between our countries, but rather to make an environment that is stable, to make an environment that can then be a factor which benefits us all.
Thank you. The other thing that I wanted to bring it out here is that when we again talk about just in general, like the ICT sector, there is just less than 1/5 of employed specialists in the EU who are female. So the majority of persons employed in ICT specialists in the EU were obviously men, and in the EU as a whole, women accounted for 18.5 of them. What measures should we use to attract women in the field of cyber too? And then especially, would there be any potential of starting some kind of initiatives by attracting more female people in cyber field in the 3Cs area too? And maybe that question, I would like to ask that from first Zoran, and then let's jump to our only female speaker here to Elina. First, Zoran. You're muted.
For this tough question, well, I would say maybe it is prejudice on the women's side that the whole cybersecurity area is very dry and strictly technical. The fact is that cybersecurity has become part of any modern business, and I expect that more women will be attracted to this area in the future, because there are really various career paths and development opportunities. There are many different specializations in the cybersecurity area. Some are less technical, like governance, risk and compliance area, or consulting. And the huge area is definitely cybersecurity education, which we mentioned a couple of times. And there are, of course, some more technical, like technology implementation, security operations, investigations, and so on. And I'm sure that more women will contribute to the quality of the cybersecurity teams. We have a number of women in our company as well. And I really hope that women will be attracted and that they will be show more interest. But I think we should communicate far more about the opportunities here. Maybe your last question was about the benefits for attracting the people in the area. I'm sure that's nice. Like, it's nice to get, let's say, a mobile phone for €1, but I would say that it's more important to provide to people, and then the more, let's say, long-term perspective, signaling the magnitude of the whole problem, that it will not disappear. So that, I think, would also then the overall improved communication and overall and increasing number of employment opportunities, that this would all help and attract also a woman in this part of the ICT business.
Thanks also for your ideas. Now let's jump to Elina. How can we get more female specialists such as you are working in the cyber field? Do you have any great ideas, any experience by that?
Thank you. I would really trust what was said by Zoran, because taking into account all this emergency situation which we have been surviving and we will still have to survive it, I think that thanks to online learning, there will be much more girls joining technology field, and also. It's usually, when you want to find a solution, you are saying like cherchez la femme. And in this case, if you talk about Latvia, we have huge amount of female CEOs in management positions. We have more and more female in our army, and I really believe that there will be more women in technology, because they will start to use this technology, and it will become something so natural that there's no escape to be apart from that. But if we talk a little bit seriously about this subject, I have been also involved quite deeply into different levels of educational development, and my deepest belief is that creating support and educational programs at university level, college level, even at the mid-school level, it's just too late. The best place to open the talents at STEAM is basically the kindergarten. And that's the place where we should start with all the digital tablets and everything, because the curiosity of kids is just amazing. And then we do not see a difference between girls and boys. They are just digging in.
Yeah. We do also have a couple of examples from Estonia by as you said, like doing this kind of exercises and just like classes already from the kindergarten side, by providing, for example, robotic classes for young kids as well, and this really makes total sense. The other issue, especially when we talk about again the private sector sense of view as well, is that when we think about the demand of cybersecurity skills in this industry, it also makes it difficult for academia, like for these sectors, to find academics with enough knowledge, practices, experience, research background, and academic aspiration. Would there be a possibility maybe also from the private sector to get people to talk at the universities, or just join the academical sector by sharing their own experience in the cyber field, so that we could also, or how can we get more people to academical sector to share their knowledge and so on? Is there any methods in some of your countries where also people from private sector come and do lectures at the universities to help people in the cyber field? Any examples from that side here?
This is a complex topic actually, and looking from practical perspective, so we do have collaboration with several universities in Poland about cybersecurity departments which they have created or they are creating, and somehow I must admit, in my opinion, it's not working well. So this. The gap between the academia and then the needs of the business, this gap is quite wide. Sometimes maybe coming from the business side, maybe we are too down to earth and too practical, and at the same time the professors want something more. I cannot really diagnose it. However, several discussions I had with the university deans. It was, well, we both agreed on the principles. Yes, we need more specialists, so specialists will be created by university, and we will benefit from that. We can have some joint programs that the person studies for half a year, then for a few months actually works, has like an internship, and all that. But definitely there is an area to do something more, and that would help to coming back to the first question, is to have more specialists out there, but also specialists who are ready to do the practical things which are needed on the market. Actually, one thing we were talking about even just last night about the initiative with the military academy in Poland to have their graduates, they are soldiers. So in cybersecurity also they are soldiers, which is okay. We need cybersecurity soldiers, and then maybe it's the idea of having those soldiers like reservists. So normally, I mean, day to day, they work on open market. They are part of some company. However, for a few months every year, they go and they perform military tasks. And so they are like reservists. If some situation comes, then they are relieved from their commercial duties, and they become the soldiers, yes, fighting the cyber in the cyberspace. So such ideas are being talked about. I still think we have a lot to do in that area.
Maybe also to turn now to Raul, once again to you. Do we have any examples from Estonia, like how to get more people to the academical sector with their knowledge and really like a practical experiences?
I think at least in Estonia, the academic sector and business sector in the cybersecurity field is quite intertwined, because I see every day how universities are or the programs are financed by different parties. Government gives some resources, but also companies finance cybersecurity education and research and development. So I see how the same people work a little bit to university, they work also for different businesses, they take part of different projects. So at least in Estonia, I don't have the feeling that we have a problem to find people to the academic work to educate. But of course, different business needs are very specific, and of course the university educational goal is to give the basics to the persons who graduate. So they are not the experts in particular fields maybe, but they have the basics. And I believe also that if we don't give the basics to the experts, then it's really hard to them later work in the company, or they just miss something that is necessary. So I think that universities should give the basic training or the basic expert training, and then of course the different cybersecurity sectors could, organize additional specialist training to their particular needs. Another comment that because one of the panelists brought out the military side, that the military work in this game, in Estonia we have the Cybersecurity Reserve organized more than 10 years ago on the basis of the Cyber Defense League. That's like paramilitary organizations organizing volunteers who want to contribute to national cybersecurity. And it works exactly as it was described, that we have the volunteers, we educate them, they take part of the exercises, and if something happens and lasts long, some cyber incident, then we are able to use them in order to be part of the solution. So it works actually quite well. Mm-hmm. And we also have started the cyber conscription in Estonian military forces, so the young boys and girls, they can get education that's also counted as part of the higher education. They also get the understanding how to develop business, so they are integrated to the business community and startup community as well. So at least here I see that the whole ecosystem works very well. Thank you.
Great, and also, I mean, turning back to the academic sector for just the closing of that side, would be also maybe possibilities in the 3Cs initiative areas to exchange academics and of course also students to be able to relocate between different universities and then learn something new from each country. So I also see a lot of potential there. As we have just 5 minutes left until the end of the discussion here, I would like everybody from from our experts here to very shortly bring out a couple of ideas how to collaborate more closely between CAE countries to support regional companies. What could be the best methods, suggestions from your side here? I would start from Andrzej, like next to me here, and then let's move all the other speakers too.
Well, as we said, most of our countries in the Tri-Seas region are members of EU. So currently, in my opinion, the NIS directive or upcoming NIS 2, this gives a very comprehensive framework for things that can be done. Actually, there is so many opportunities within NIS that it's more of a like prioritizing or selecting the one that is most relevant in a given situation. So I think it's a question of initiative. Just recently, we're part of a consortium that builds for European Defense Agency, consortium from 11 countries actually. Most of them are Tri-Seas countries. The software or the tools, it's called Rapid Response Cyber Toolkit. So such initiatives, it's better when they are cross country. So yes, we could have them from one, but it needs to start in one country. So somebody needs to be the initiator and then gather people. So having this cyber community in our Tri-Sea region, this is very important because this is the forum which should exist and should generate ideas and drive and push programs.
Mm-hmm. Great. Elina, what's Latvia's opinion approach that side? How can we support our companies in this region?
Yes, there is basically the founder of Latvian Maritime who has been saying that there is no small country which is having a sea. So basically we are having 3 seas. Can you imagine what kind of... So going with this, I would like to say that it's very important to set up the priorities for us as for in the region. And then basically the measurement of our success would be common partnership programs. Would it be at NATO Diana, or would it be at EU level Horizon or European Defence Fund projects? So basically we have to put those priorities for us in cybersecurity field especially, because I really believe that we are lagging behind those investments in this area. And secondly, of course, invest more in resilience, because as such, the resilience issue, as it's formulated by EU policy makers right now, it really lacks this security, cybersecurity and defense angle. And then it's very important for all of us is to think about still about localization, about security of supply. Would it be for further development of our technologies, components, etc., etc. But I think it's very critical if we want to build resilient cybersecurity in our region. Mm-hmm. And of course, to share those strategic competencies that we have, because also today we have been talking a lot about lack of people in cybersecurity, but the emergency situation that was caused by COVID, for instance, I could see among my members of a federation that they were very actively sharing the human resources where it was necessary. So I believe that we can also share these competences, and of course involve academia, create more programs with academia, because we cannot have superiority in cyber area if we are not working closely with academia. And like an example for close cooperation with academia and business and defense, I can just name Rikk Technical University, which was participating in trainings as our National Guards, and they came up with idea to use smartphones also for trainings. And they approached our largest telecommunication company with this idea, And basically they ended up with a completely new innovation as Smart Guard, and right now opening up 5G polygon in our army. So basically sharing these competencies is probably the third aspect which would be very good to take into account.
Yeah, I will have to sum it up on this note here, otherwise we're running out of time. Very sorry about the other panelists here. I will waiting for your ideas into use, so when we see these things actually in practice working already, hopefully quite soon. I'd like to say from my side, very big thank you to everybody who has joined us today, either here in the room or also turned the virtual platforms. And I do sincerely hope that it was also interesting for you to get some of the new ideas here, and let's hope that the 3Cs initiative will bring out a couple of very positive examples how to really boost the economic system by helping our cyber companies to find new markets, and of course also get rid of the problem of the lacking of workforce as well here. So thank you, and enjoy the rest of the day.